see a lot of your posts, especially LinkedIn posts. I followed very diligently. You talk about leadership and especially emotional intelligence. Like, what are your thoughts on emotional intelligence for being a leader? Like, why is that important?
Yeah, I've gone to a lot of interesting places to get information and to educate and self-educate. I have been involved in many organizations where I learned how not to be the leader that was in that organization.
Mhm.
And so I learned sort of a negative pathway to, well, I like that, but I don't like this. I see where this is going, but I would do it this way or that or very differently. I think that I landed on emotional intelligence because I was personally looking for something that I needed help with, I needed to improve on, and I needed to start seeing how other people saw me. And so there's that little small voice inside of you, right? That what do they call it, the the fake complex or the I'm losing it right now, but imposter comp. There you go.
Imposter
I
syndrome.
had to get over that imposter complex. I had a complex. I had a lot of ideas about a lot of things, but I only knew this much about a lot of subjects. So I needed to make sure that I could convey those messages to the people that are around me so that they can help me and understand that they're really my expert. They're my professional expert. But I have to try to carry their message to my five elected officials and the public.
Right.
So understanding how I receive information, my body language, my facial movements, how I feel about something. Am I triggered? Am I not triggered? Should I be triggered? Should I not be triggered? Learning all of those things is very cathartic, I think. And then being able to express it in writing and sharing it with other people. Not that I'm the expert, but these are things, I've gone through, and these are things that I think are important to me. And I feel like when people read things that are important to other people who may be in a situation similar or dissimilar to them, if they're seeking information, that it's really helpful.
So now, you are like the city manager. You have multiple departments under you. Those departments have multiple people under you. Then you have a city council. Then you have the residents. So you have like these buckets of different people with different personalities, different needs, and all looking up to you one way or the other. Like, how are you leading this? So how do you manage like your leadership style for these different individuals or categories of people, or is it very similar? Like, how do you handle that?
That is a fantastic question, and I think one that is often overlooked. Um, I would say that people hear you differently. No matter what you say, people are going to hear what you say and focus on certain words that you say differently than other people. So my message has always been one of repetitiveness. And I don't mean like I'm going to bore you to death because I'm going to tell you this 5 times because I'm talking down to you. I'm going to say it 5 times, but I'm going to say it 5 different ways because people need to hear a same consistent message, but maybe they're not understanding exactly what you're saying by the way that you're saying it. So as a city manager, I need to have a communication style that is repetitive, but in a way that multiple audiences can understand what I'm saying. So, what I would tell a council member individually is not how I would talk to a council of five of them at a city council meeting, right? But I also, at a city council meeting, want to talk to the council so that staff and the public that are in the room at the same time understand what I'm saying. And then there's that invisible fourth wall because we videotape or we have a live feed of
Right.
our city council meeting. So people that are tuning in, like we are right now, can understand what I'm saying. So it's exhausting, first of all. It's fun because we have to come up with strategies and different ways to communicate. And yet I'm not always successful. There are certain things that I continue to seek answers to, and it is which communication style is going to work the best. But what I've found, sorry to belabor the point, is that you have to have a multiple pronged approach when you communicate to those many different audiences.
I think I that's a really great point, and I really like the the point you talked about that you have to repeat yourself, but very clearly, like you don't repeat it the exact same way. I think that little thing you pointed out is such a critical thing. And I think and I'm guilty of not doing that. I need to start implementing that in my leadership values too, because like I work in marketing. So even when we've done simple campaigns, a person has to see your ad, for example, like 17 times before they will remember anything about you.
Mhm.
And the same thing, like you mentioned, goes with the message, but then you don't want to show the exact same thing. So if you want to convey people to your residents or your team, you want to convey same message, but you want to convey it differently so it doesn't look repetitive, but the information is great. I think that little thing, like tiny difference, is very critical and so important. And it's refreshing to hear that you actually do that. And I'm going to start doing that because I'm guilty of sometimes forgetting.
The last thing on that I forgot failed to mention is there's also the law of unintended consequences. There might be something that I'm saying to you in a way that I may have neglected to really answer your question, or maybe I'm trying to influence you too much. Influence is a good thing, right? We use it as a bad thing, but it's a good thing, especially in business and in the position I'm in, because we need to influence and share vision, right? But there's also the law of unintended consequences. So before I go and we all go and do something, the right thing, I need to make sure that there are not roadblocks in the way, or maybe I've miscommunicated something. So I have to circle back, kind of take care of that law of unintended consequences. And then maybe when I share the next message, it's a little bit different because I've worked through an issue on the repetitive side.
So being leader sometimes can be very lonely because you have to do hard things, right? You have to do things that might be right. It's like being a parent. You have to do right things for the kid. Sometimes they might not like it. So what are your thoughts on the concept like a leadership is lonely and doing the hard things is really hard, and but you still have to do it.
Yeah, I think being lonely makes the hard things easier. If that makes sense. I think when we try to befriend or I'm not saying don't be friendly. I'm saying creating friendships with downline reports and can be very, very sticky. I mean, ultimately, business is business, right? I treat everybody like a person. Everybody like has a relationship with me, but if somebody is not fulfilling their function to the organization or doing something disruptive to that, it's really a lot easier to make that correction when you are lonely at the top. But we do have folks outside, like other city managers. We have groups that we connect with each other. I came up with two other city managers roughly around the same time in 2012 in November. We're really close friends to this day, and we bounce a lot of things off each other. But I believe that it is lonely at the top for a reason, and that reason is because we have to make the tough decisions. And I believe, maybe disproportionately than others, that making tough decisions when it's only at the top is a bit easier.
Your favorite book on emotional intelligence that you have been reading recently?
Oh my gosh, there's so many of them. Two right now, I think that would consider my favorites and things that I just continue to go back to. One of them is just it's almost like a Bible for emotional intelligence. He'll probably fall out of his chair if he hears us talking about that. But Dr. Travis Bradbury, Emotional Intelligence Habits, very thick book. It also comes with when you purchase it, the opportunity to do a self-test. So you go do the self-test, and it tells you some things about yourself, which are great. Sometimes they hurt, but there's also chapters in the book that he wants you to start with first if you answer certain questions. I found that very refreshing. So sometimes we go and we get this big thick book and we think we're going to have to read it cover to cover. I learned years ago that that's not how I learn. So I am one of those index readers or table of contents, and I got to figure out like what strikes me, and then I go to that chapter and I read about that. So that's number one. Number two is this sort of, I don't want to call it a small book, but it's not as thick. It's Gary Vaynerchuk wrote a book called 12 and a half. And these are leveraging the emotional ingredients, and he picks 12 plus a half that he believes are necessary for business success. And I would say for personal or business success, because if you can't manage these 12 and a half things, or you don't even know what they are, um, I'm getting better at expressing my emotion for something. Like when people say they're scared of something, well, I'm really not scared. I might be anxious. I might be, and I don't want to parse words, but I think it's important that we identify what we're actually feeling because we can't be scared about everything, right? If we are, I don't know how we get through life.
What's the difference between, from a 30,000 view between a manager and a leader? And if a manager wants to move into a leadership role, what are the best ways for them to actually do it?
So that's a great question and a great topic. So on a number of fronts, I have my own thoughts about each of those. I think going from a position to where you are a project person and you do singular projects by yourself, like an analyst position. When you make that leap to a manager and you're actually managing people, I think that's probably the hardest leap to make because you're going from a position where you have peers around you to potentially leading those peers, and people get a different view of you when all of a sudden you're their boss.
Yeah.
But in terms of being a leader versus a manager, to me, a leader casts vision and sets direction. So, like, look, people, this is where we're going. This is, in the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So, we're casting this vision, this great big rainbow out there, right? And we're going to set that direction. This is where we're going, and we're leading that direction in that way. And the manager's position, um, in my opinion, is to catch that vision and then offer steps and other strategies to accomplish that with and through other people. So I'm not saying that a leader doesn't lead people. I'm saying that a manager is more hands-on in the technical capabilities of where it is going to take everybody to the next level, but the leader should be casting that vision and setting that direction. We get promoted based on the things that we do well. And so if that's the end all be all, and the person that's promoting you is promoting you because you do such and such well, then it's incumbent upon you to teach everybody how to do that well. And I think it starts there. But I also go back to that emotional intelligence, right? You got to figure out about yourself. What else was it that made me the person to get into this position? Because there's a reason, and sometimes people don't even tell you what that is, right? If you're good at such and such, but no, hey, you've got a great personality. You know how to communicate things to a greater audience, and now I need you to train the people that are going to report to you how to do that. So we're all better, right? So I have kind of a three-step process. It's I do it, you watch, you do it, I watch, and then I bail because I'm going to go do it with someone else. So unfortunately, it's a lot of one-on-one, and that's really time-consuming while we're trying to do our own work, right? So you were chosen for this position because you're going to get to do more with less, right?
Yeah.
Less time for you and more time to help everyone else. So just also finding what you're good at, remembering what you're good at, and then asking for help about the things you're not good at. I wasn't good at being very direct when I was younger. It doesn't seem that way because some people think I'm really arrogant, but that was a defense mechanism for me because I didn't really know how to approach people and I didn't like um, confrontation, right? And so I've learned though how that everybody knows about the elephant in the room, so why don't we just talk about it?
Closing thoughts on what it means to be leader for a city and for anybody who wants to progress through the careers in local government. How can they kind of go about it?
Yeah, great. Thank you for the opportunity again. I'm a firm believer in hiring people who are smarter than me, more intelligent, have a specific focus. They're professional experts in their field. I can't be a professional expert in every field, right? So I need to hire those people that are, and I can learn from them. I learn down just as much as I hopefully, they learn up. I expect my people to manage up.
Right.
And that's something we don't talk about a lot because people are afraid in leadership positions that, oh, you're not gonna, these people aren't gonna manage me, but they are every day because they're coming in as professional experts and they're sharing their knowledge. So I think it's really good to focus on the strengths of others, especially if they're a weakness of yours. You can learn a lot. I used to say I steal a lot of information and knowledge from people around me. What makes me dangerous is I know a little bit about a lot of things. One thing I won't tolerate, though, is if I ask you a question that I know very little about, but I know the answer to that question and it's your field of expertise and you don't know the answer. That bothers me to no, to no extent. So learn and know your stuff, right? And also, I think we forget that we're all people. We're all people. We all have personalities. We have families or family life or significant others that we have potentially have issues with, right? And we spend more time with each other than we do with our own families. So why can't it be pleasant, right? Let's take our jobs and what we do seriously, but not ourselves. Let's have some fun. Let's be able to enjoy ourselves in the office. If you were to come in my office right now, you would hear music. You could come in and interrupt me at any time of the day, except now, because this is real important. But my door is always open unless I'm in a meeting with folks. And I encourage sometimes when it's needed, people to knock on the door so I can let them in because I want to make sure I keep you working. If you're waiting on me all the time to get your work done, that doesn't do either of us any good, right? So enjoy what you do, get a great group of people together, have a good time doing it. But make sure that you hire those professional experts in their field so that they can make you look good as well.